Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Oh,
can.
hi. Just quickly, I'm supposed to be quick. I come from a Roman Catholic household, and I'm now an atheist, and I've used sort of the logistical constraint argument on my father, and so I just found a flaw in your game maker argument. An atheist can tell you that, you know, the divine doesn't have to abide by our human logistical constraints. So we can set up all these logistical arguments and constraints and say that how can God possibly exist based on what we know? But then a theist can and will say, well, they don't have, or God, sorry, does not have to abide by any of those rules. And then that's how my dad always wins these arguments against me, because he says, you know, he is above all that. The divine is above all of our constraints. That's just what I want to say.
What he's saying then is that the rules aren't really rules because they actually have all kinds of exceptions. He's making a bunch of stuff up that he claims are universally true, but then he immediately contradicts himself by saying they're not actually universally true because I have the freedom to make shit up that doesn't conform to the rules, which also then would appear to be made up.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the laws or government in Canada, really. But here in the U.S., my response to that kind of well, you know, God is in charge and he can do whatever he wants, I bring up the principles of American government, which is that the rulers rule by the consent of the people, and that there is no such thing as a guy who just unilaterally has the authority to make up rules and impose them on others in American culture. There is really no such thing, and that is called a tyrant.
Right, absolutely, and I completely agree. I've just lost this argument so many times with my father in particular because he says, you know, God does not have to abide by our political rules or our political definitions.
Say yes, he does. Say yes, he does. Try that. There was a wonderful. I'm recommending books today. There is a wonderful novel by the Discworld guy, Terry Pratchett, and. Oh, what is who's the Pratchett reader here who can help me out? The book with the little turtle god? Darn.
Sorry.
I will find the information and post it on have it posted on our website.
Oh,
it's a great fantasy novel. This guy writes like social commentary, comedy fantasy novels, and it's about this priest who discovers that his god has dwindled down to like this little tortoise that can talk to him. And helps the tortoise regain his religious power, but the cost is the god is like an elected representative of the people now. Else he's not going to get help.
Okay.
What I like to say is, how do you know that the god you're following is actually good? Because I mean, I like to invite people to imagine a scenario where this guy wrote a book of rules that he said everybody should follow, and he has an enemy, but it turns out that the guy who wrote the book of rules is actually Satan, who's tricking everyone, and the enemy is actually the good guy. How do you know that you're... I mean, you must have some other reason other than that the god told you he was good. Because Satan would also tell you he was good.
My experience in Canada, we don't have I haven't come across a lot of fundamentalist Christians, but I was raised Catholic, right? So a lot of the what they quote unquote know comes from dogma, and it's actually not biblical based at all.
Yeah,
of course.
Two things.
Right. So that's even worse because it's a whole bunch of guys.
Right.
In the medieval times trying to. Control uneducated people.
Well, I mean, whether it's...
at the same time, you still have to. They're so ingrained, right?
Two things.
It's so ingrained in them. Yeah.
I remember the name of the book. It's Small Gods.
Small Gods. Okay.
And just getting back to that point. Next time your dad says God doesn't have to abide by human rules, say he does if he wants me to pay any attention to him. Otherwise, he's just a tyrant. Because what I do, you can tell your dad, what I do is I have respect for elected representatives who are, whose authority comes from the fact that people have given it to them. Tell them that.
Right.
Also, whether it's Catholicism or fundamentalism, I mean, fundamentalists don't think they're actually getting all their stuff from the Bible. I mean, a lot of this stuff about the end times that's in, like, the Left Behind books are actually from extra-biblical sources because, Revelation is really a very, very short book. And there's been a bunch of stuff made up over the centuries to fill in the gaps of exactly what they think that is going to happen that isn't coming from the Bible.
Well, there's actually more books in the Catholic Bible.
Yep, that's true.
Than the other. Right. There's more epistles. There's more letters. So, I mean, how do you justify that? Like that's, people just sort of sit in a committee and go, "Oh, that one works and that one doesn't."
That's closer than you think to reality because there actually was something called the Council of Trent in like the 4th century.
Right.
Or am I getting the wrong thing? Nicaea. Yeah, Council of Trent was later. The Nicene Council. There were actually a bunch of books that didn't make it into the Bible, and the reason that they didn't was because the committee sat around and said, okay, that one stays, that one goes. They cobbled together the Bible based on the stuff they already believed.
Well, thanks very much for your call.
Yeah.
And take care.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.